So I think three main things stand out the most when it comes to the new iPhone 15 Pro lineup. That's the new titanium body, the customizable action button that takes the place of the mute switch, and the addition of USB-C, which a few years ago was something I really didn't think we would get, but here we are, finally. And if you're all about having the latest and greatest, the iPhone 15 Pro Max is probably the one you're considering with its 120mm zoom camera. It's one of the reasons why I went with the Pro Max this year and picked mine up with 256GB of storage in natural titanium. And if I'm being honest, this is probably my favorite color in an iPhone in years. I'd say the best color to compare this to is the silver on MacBook Pros, but this looks like it's mixed with a very slight yellow tint, which might not sound like it would be a good combination, but trust me, it works. And it's much different than the options we had with the last few iPhones. So Apple also released these in three other colors: black, blue, and white titanium. But I went with the natural finish because it's the first time we've seen this color on an iPhone. After seeing the others in person, I think this will be the most popular choice this year. And if you're on the fence about it, I really don't think you can go wrong. It really is that nice. So the phone also comes bundled with some paperwork and a white Apple sticker. There's also no power brick included since Apple stopped shipping those with new iPhones a few years ago. But the newest addition inside the box is the braided USB-C cable, and we'll talk more about why that's important in a minute. So aside from the color, my first impression of the iPhone 15 Pro Max is that I'm really impressed by how good it feels in my hand. The shift to a new titanium body not only adds to the phone's looks, but it also makes it about 10% lighter. There are also improvements to the overall shape of the phone. The bezel shrank a little compared to the 14 Pro, and the edges are now smoother and more comfortable to grip compared to the flatter edges that were on the most recent iPhones. The sides also now have a brushed texture instead of stainless steel that surprisingly feels really smooth to the touch, but just like the old stainless steel, if you don't have a case, it's a fingerprint magnet. Regardless, the shape and feel of the phone is an improvement from what we had over the last few years. So like before, the Max comes with a 6.7-inch 120Hz OLED display, and the dynamic island is back this year, but this time on all iPhone 15 models. It's still the same as it was on the 14 Pro, there aren't any major improvements, but either way, it's great for showing additional context and information for different apps, especially when it comes to things like timers and maps. I have to admit, I wasn't very hyped about this feature when it came out last year, but it actually ended up being a cool addition. And I suspect that's what a lot of people may feel at first about the new action button. It's about the same size as the mute switch that's now gone, and it's located in the exact same spot right above the volume buttons. And by default, the action button is set to turn mute on and off still, but once you play around with the settings, there's a lot of functionality that comes with it. So you can customize it to activate a ton of different features, like turning on a focus mode, opening the camera app, activating the flashlight, recording voice memos, or opening something like the magnifier. But the real power of it is in using Siri shortcuts to make the action button do almost anything you want, like opening Instagram or something like turning on the lights, for example. But in case you do use the mute option a lot but still want to use the action button for something else, Apple added a mute button to the control center so you can still get to it there. So to activate the feature you set for the action button, all you have to do is long press it, which is easy enough but might take some getting used to. That's partly because for a button that's meant to be used a lot, I think its placement is a little bit awkward, especially on the larger Pro Max. It's just a little too high up for something meant to be fast, and I would have preferred it if it was below the volume buttons instead of above them. I think that would have made it more comfortable to reach. As of right now, I set my action button to open the camera, but I'm still experimenting with it a little bit. Speaking of the camera, the standout feature of the 15 Pro Max is the 5x optical zoom lens. It's the only iPhone to have that this year. So that replaces the 3x zoom, and I was really interested in that because honestly, I didn't really use the 3x zoom on my other iPhones. The noise in the image would get really bad at times, and I often had to zoom in past that point, which made things even worse. After using it, I think the 5 is for sure an improvement, but it's not some magical feature that will make zoomed in shots look good every single time. It will still perform its best when you have good lighting, and that's true for a lot of pictures taken with phones in general. So the main camera also has a new option for shooting in 24mm, 28mm, and 35mm focal lengths. You can also set one of these as your new default focal length for whenever you open the camera app, but I left mine at 24mm since I really like that look when it comes to taking photos with a phone. But one of the things I was most excited about with the camera is the new automatic portrait mode feature, which allows you to adjust the focus after taking a photo with either the rear or front cameras. I mean, Apple's portrait software still needs some work, but my rule of thumb is to be light when changing the focus. I find that these types of pictures often look best when the effect is just barely applied. One thing I forgot to mention is that the Pro models can now shoot in 4K 60 ProRes and log encoding, which if you're not familiar with it, totally good, but essentially gives you more power and freedom while you're color grading. It's pretty much the same technology behind what I use to film these videos on my channel with my Sony cameras, which is pretty cool. And while we can't test this yet, Apple did mention the 15 Pros can record 3D videos that can be played back on the Vision Pro headset. So that's something to keep in mind down the road when that drops in 2024. So like I mentioned earlier, every iPhone 15 now comes with a USB-C port. The 15 Pro support USB 3, which allows for faster data transfer speeds than USB 2, which is what comes with the normal iPhone 15. The catch, which there always is one, is if you picked up a 15 Pro, you still need a bi-compatible USB 3 cable to take advantage of those faster data transfer speeds. That's because the USB-C cable included in the box only supports USB 2. That might not matter if you're not using your iPhone to transfer large files to a hard drive or a computer, or if you use AirDrop most of the time. Either way, you can pick up one of those cables on Amazon for less than $20. Another cool thing about USB-C is that you can use your iPhone sort of like a battery, as weird as that sounds. You can attach it to other accessories like an AirPods case or even other iPhones, and you can charge them. Crazy. But the big talking point with the switch to USB-C is that we can now use one cable to charge cameras, controllers, laptops, a bunch of other things, now including iPhones. That means no more needing to grab a lightning cable if you're going to class or out of town, unless you still have devices that need it, like the older AirPods or AirPods Pro Max. So as someone who games, I was really interested in the new A17 Pro Chip, which Apple says will bring ray tracing lighting effects and other enhanced graphics to mobile games on the 15 Pros. Now, I'm mainly a console gamer. I maybe have one mobile game on my phone, which has probably been the same one for the last 5 years. But Apple surprised me when they showed off a demo of Resident Evil Village running on an iPhone, and it looked really similar to the Xbox One and PS4 versions of the game. Then like a few days later, Hideo Kojima teased that Death Stranding is also coming out for the iPhone. Like, if this lives up to expectations, this could be a huge step forward for mobile gaming, and I guarantee you that this caught Sony and Microsoft's attention. So we'll see what happens in the next few years. But anyway, let's be clear, the iPhone 15 Pro is not a revolutionary upgrade. Most iPhones haven't been for the last few years. And if you have a 13 or 14 Pro, you should be good for another year or so without feeling like you're missing out on much. But the 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max represent important changes for the iPhone and for Apple, bringing together features like USB-C, the A17 Pro chip, the improved camera system, and it pretty much lays the groundwork for a promising future. Oh, and one more thing. So I also picked up one of those FineWoven cases that Apple dropped this year, and just straight up, I'm not feeling it. For 60 bucks, it feels cheap and definitely not worth the price. So I suggest skipping that and picking up a third-party case for the 15s. But I'll share an update after I spend some more time with the phone, and I think I'm going to experiment and go caseless for the next few weeks to see how this holds up. So subscribe to follow that and look for my video on the other thing I picked up today, the Apple Watch Ultra 2. And if you're interested in gaming on your iPhone, check out my review of the Backbone 1 gaming controller here. Until then, let me know if you have any questions, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.